Hello and welcome back to Memory Sports TV. And now I'm sitting here with Konstantin Skudler. Konstantin is one of the youngest competitors in the World Championship, but I think he has the most experience when it comes down to how long he is competing. He is competing since he is 5 years old. So since 2004, 5, 6, he will tell us right now. So Konstantin, welcome to the interview. Thank you for taking the time. And yeah, for how long are you competing already?
I started competing in 2005, but started
2005.
training 2004.
2004, yes. I think I met you the first time in 2005 in the course of Florian Delay, who did the memory training in Berlin. Do you remember that?
No, but there is also a TV report about that. And
Mhm.
when I turn 25 next month, I wanted to rewatch all of my TV experiences.
Cool.
So I have a huge bag full of DVDs from all TV formats I've been to. And this
Yeah.
is my first ever of many. So I'm interested in rewatching this. I haven't never watched this, I think.
And yeah, you said it in the beginning, in the first years when you competed in the kids category and so on. And there was a time when you had a lot of TV shows, like big TV shows in Germany. People might not know, but in Germany it is Stern TV, I think, and others as well. How good are your memories of those TV shows?
They are much better, and also the competitions a few years afterwards. So I think the first competition where I've really memories is the 2007 North German Championship. So this was my third overall. And there I was fourth in the kids category, and I missed the podium by 2 points.
Wow. Okay.
So I had 667, and the third place had 669. It's not a lot,
Hmm.
but still 2 points is always frustrating. And I
Hmm.
think this was the first kickstart of really more intensive training than before. I have improved also in the year from 2006 to 2007. But I think this experience and feeling that you are so close, this was the first really big motivation for even more training.
Hmm.
Then in the year after 2008, I took part in my first German championship, which I already won with 9 in the kids category. And from that, I still remember that where our hotel was. I was there with my father as, yeah, many competitions. I was accompanied by him. And I still remember where the city was. It was in Tuttlingen, by the river, and where our hotel was and how the venue looked. After that success, this whole TV stuff was starting, and then just yeah, with this TV team from Stern TV, we visited the World Championships in Bahrain, and these are the first championships where I really have memories from, and where I also recheck the photos and results regularly because yeah, that are very nice memories to look back.
It's very interesting. So because you just said that in the age of 6 or 7, but losing by these 2 points really motivated you and got you into it. I mean, why did you do that? Was it really the loss there and it was so close? I mean, you could do so much other stuff in your life, but why competing and training for memory sports? Was it really that one point, one moment?
So from in that time, I have already been training memory for 3 years. It was already an established hobby, I would say. And I always had many hobbies. So when I was 5, I started playing piano, singing in the choir, doing karate and memory sports. And apart from that, of course, I had to manage my school career, which everyone should. Yeah, so I have many hobbies and they are very balanced. Yeah, a bit of music, a bit of sport, and also something for the mind, which is not related in any way to the school. And this was very important for my parents, and they wanted me to have a mental challenge, but not something like physics for elementary school students, and then it's getting boring in the secondary school because I already learned it in the elementary school. But they
Mm.
wanted to wanted me to do something completely different, which will not bore me later anyways. And when they found the memory class and when I had fun, mainly because of the numbers disciplines, these numbers disciplines catched me, and I saw the progress and this self-motivation, which the traditional format encouraged a lot. So in Memory League, you always compete, or you mostly compete, but in a traditional format, and back then there was no Memory League, it was about your points you score in a championship or in each of the discipline. And there you could see progress every month or even every week. And this was very important for me. And then when the progress came so far that I almost got to the top 3 in my category, this was the motivation to get even higher because I already saw that I was improving. And then I also wanted to get the success, of course. I don't know if it was so much fun without any competitions, but the North German Championships was once a year. And for a 6-year-old, once a year is not very often. So I think it would be something different if there was a tournament every month. And I don't know what success I would have needed there to get motivated, but this once in a year was good to see where I am and that I can even more improve because I had 4 more years in the kids category. So the motivation was also because, it was just fun to see the personal progress as well.
How much did your parents need to push you?
It always depended. So there were phases where I really wanted to train a lot, especially immediately before competitions. Because of course you see also a short time training effect. So if you train for 2 weeks very intensively, you already see your scores improving. Over the whole year, it was rather easy for them because I had this course every 2 weeks until 2009 or 10, I think. So for about 6 years. And in the beginning of that time, I didn't do anything apart from this once in 2 weeks. And this was already enough for improving that fast. So this is, kind of incredible. 2010, I was on a level that, the course didn't teach me anything anymore because I knew the techniques. And then every memory athlete who knows the techniques can train for himself. And this was also the time where MemoCamp came up, which was, I think, the very first software ever where you could compete from home, apart from the Memory XL trainer, maybe. And then I started training more regularly and more often than once in 2 weeks. And I think from the results, you also see that, so that my improvement even increased in that time when I quit the course and trained for myself.
Yeah, and you just told us that you have been to these TV shows and so on. What do you think? How did this influence you in your life back then? How did that influence your perspective or the perspective of your classmates on you? Things like that back then.
I think it didn't change too much. So I recently have thought about it, and I came to the conclusion that I was too young to realize what was really about. So when I was the world champion for the first time, aged 9, it was rather normal that, now I won the world championship, so I'm a world champion. And when I told this, because I was proud, of course, of this achievement, but it was nothing so special that I wanted to make me better than others. So I never used this for comparing people or myself towards others. But maybe this was the message that arrived at the others. So I think some of the people misinterpreted what I wanted to say, and they were a bit mad, I would say. So it didn't really. It was not just positive. These TV shows and the success. But this also improved when I got older and older. I also reviewed, okay, how do these messages arrive? And I noted that maybe I should change the way I present myself or I talk about these things. As I said, for me personally, it was totally normal because I didn't know how it would be without having been in these TV shows. So everything started so early. So I can really say it's normal to me and also to my siblings. My siblings were also always asked when TV teams were at home, and they asked, "How is it for you to have such a brother?" And they told, "It's normal for me because I don't have other brothers."
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's how I feel about this.
yeah, it's interesting because everyone or most of the everyone in the World Championship started later, and they can describe it a bit easier because there was this time when they didn't do it. But for you, there was never a time not doing memory sports, was it?
Yeah, only very short periods without training,
Mhm.
but it always has been in my mind, and I always prepared somehow for the next competition.
Mhm. And next year you want to review your life. I mean, 25. Okay, why? Why was 25? What drives you to that?
Mm, interesting question, and I just came up with this because I am, of course, proud of what I did and also in which age I have done all of this. And as I stated before, I started piano, singing, karate, and memory sports when I was 5, and I still do all of this. And I do all of this on a very high level. And this is what makes it really fun to me. So I can go to the training or sit down at the piano and just play and enjoy being rather good because I have a lot of experience. At some point, I thought, now I'm 25, and now this is really astonishing what I have done in 25 years of being in this on this planet.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just wanted to review this a bit and also write something about it down, not professionally, and don't want to publish this, but I just I want to keep it in a way I thought about this in this age. And when I
Mhm.
look back in another 25 years, maybe I'm interested in how I saw this back then when it was closer to the present.
Mhm.
And this was the motivation.
And yeah, you said that you're doing a lot of stuff now. You're about to or close to finish your PhD. How do you balance nowadays memory training with all the things going on?
It's always been like a phase thing, and I always needed to prioritize my hobbies.
Mhm.
So when I was in school, of course, my first priority always was the school, and this was also what my parents told me. This should always be the first thing, and all of the other priorities you can shift whatever you want. And then when there was a karate tournament coming up, I I focused on going to training 2 times a week, which was my maximum training. I didn't do any karate training apart from these trainings. You could, but I never did. But I just paid attention to really going to the training as first priority. And then in the time being at home, I practiced some piano and I practiced more when there was a small concert in my music school or when there was a memory competition coming up. I practiced a bit more memory and maybe a bit less piano, and maybe I just went once in a week to the karate training because I wanted to focus on this memory competition. And all of my life, it was this shifting of priorities. What was the most thing I should focus on, but it was always that the other things were still present. They were a bit less present, but still present, and I still did all of these. And when the memory league came, there was no need to train extra to get in train, stay in training regularly. But I just played my matches, and I think last season I trained twice, and apart from that, I played my 6 matches, and this helps a lot.
Mhm.
All the other stuff I still do, so I still try to be at the piano for sometimes a month, and I still go to karate nowadays, even 3 times a week because that's always also what I plan to do next year, my third black belt. It's still this shifting of priorities. Of course, priority number one shifted from school to university. Now, Monday to Friday, my day consists of working for my PhD. So it's easy to get this priority feeded. And all of
Mhm.
my free time is always prioritizing all of these different hobbies.
So yeah, a bit technical stuff. Lo, you started using a two-digit system, I think, 20 years ago. And what is your system nowadays?
It's exactly the same.
Still the same system with the same images, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I never changed. Maybe I changed one or two
Yeah. Okay.
images, but basically it's exactly the same. So I still just put one image per location and 2 digits for one image.
And cards also
And
one card, one
yeah,
image.
so in cars it's a bit different. There was one time for like half a year where I changed my card system. It's also a story for itself. But for half a year, I had a PO system in cards just for the long card discipline, so the 30 minutes. It was the Swedish Open competition in October. And then there was the European competition, I think 5 weeks afterwards in Copenhagen. It was both in autumn. And I was at the Swedish competition, and there was no way of not getting third in the overall competition. So I think I had more than 1,000 points to the second and also to the fourth place. So I could play around a bit. But at some point, I think in the second last discipline, it was the spoken numbers. And I spoke to Sylvain. And because I ran out of locations,
He was
and
organizing, or what was it? No, he was.
no, he was competing
Okay.
also. I think he finished second, Marvin, Sylvain, and
Okay.
then me. But I talked to Sylvain and I asked him, what should I do? I run out of locations. Should I go for a second try in spoken numbers? And then I have the worst locations in the speed cards, or should I skip this and have 2 tries of speed cards with good locations? And his answer was change your systems or get more locations so that you don't have this question.
Good.
Which was a very good answer. It was the perfect answer because that motivated me to build a new system for the cards for the European Championship, which was 5 weeks after. Yeah, because I knew that there would be Ben Pridmore, and I was very close to him, I would say, in my training scores, and it was obvious before that we would battle for the third place there. Then I started creating this PO system and training it within 5 weeks. And I think I got down to 1 minute 10, so around 70 seconds for one deck, but I just used it for the 30-minute cards. So the pure speed was not that important. And then I applied it also in the European competition. And I think I even scored better than in the Swedish Open. And in the end, I got third place ahead of Ben by 12
Good.
points.
Okay, nice.
And this would have not been possible without having changed the card system because I would totally run out of locations again, and I couldn't use another spoken attempt or the second speed cards attempt. So I really won the third place match against Ben on the second try of speed cards. So thanks to Sylvain, I changed the system for 5 weeks, and I also continued training it a couple of months later. But at some point, I didn't continue training it again.
Why?
And now I'm back at my one system.
Okay.
So,
Interesting. Yeah.
so in theory, I could retry using this PO, but the difference and the same is also for the numbers system. I have been using these systems now for almost 20 years, as you said, and they are so stuck in my head, and I'm so used to it, and I can take a break of 3 months, and I still can do a deck of cards in under a minute because I have never done anything else in my life, so to say, regarding memorizing cards. And this makes it very high hurdle to create a new system and train it and get rid of the old system, what I'm completely used to, and get the new system to a level to beat this also level of consistency. Because when we go to the strategy in my memory league matches, I would say I'm by far the competitor in the world championship with the worst best scores. But the way I can win anyway some matches is by the accuracy, especially in numbers, images, and cards. And I think I don't have any data on that, but I think I'm one of the most accurate numbers and cards players, maybe. I think this is my strength, and giving up this system, which leads to my strength in this accuracy, and maybe gaining some speed advantages at some point, but I would never know how my strengths would shift there. And this is just too much effort, given that I still focus on my PhD as first priority and having so many other hobbies, that I just stick to my systems, which work enough to get to the top 16 of the world rankings. Yeah, I'm totally happy with that. And I'm always happy when I can grab some points or get a match won. But for that, motivation is too low to get the time to do that.
Okay, but at least, I mean, you come from kids, juniors, and adults. Not many, I'm not sure if any, at least in Germany, have done that. So this is really cool. Maybe Christian, but he was already 17 or something. But this is really something you have done and achieved, being a memory athlete for 20 years from the age of 5. And now in the World Championship, how you are going to beat Alex in the first round of the World Championship?
Yeah, so I have a very small history with Alex. I played one league match with him when I was in the first division some years ago. And I remember that very well because I lost 1-5. So I won one discipline. And this was numbers. And of course, he was much faster, but he did a mistake and I won on accuracy. But it also was at a point where the match was already decided. And I think it was one of the seasons where the best scores were also counted to the overall season scores. So this is something which would not happen in that way, maybe now in this World Championship. But this has to be my strategy, and I think my strategy against Alex will be different than with others, because the disciplines I would normally choose and which I would say are my strongest disciplines are international names and words. But the problem is that Alex is one of the people who's clearly stronger in these disciplines, and where then I would say the chances of winning these disciplines get lower when you are clearly weaker. And this is why I would probably go with images, numbers, and cards, because there's always the mistake to win by accuracy because the opponent makes a mistake. And it sounds really ridiculous to pick numbers and cards against Alex, but I think there my chances are still low, but probably higher than in the international names and words. Maybe if I really see, I think he will maybe pick international names, but not words. So he will also maybe choose cards. And when I see, okay, there's definitely no choice, no chance in these disciplines, maybe I change that in the second set. Because I don't really calculate with winning against Alex. But I also don't say that I will lose 0-4-0, 0-5-0-4. So I would still just go for good scores and try to, if I get a chance, use this chance. And if not, then it's fine. But as I said, when I realized in the first set, okay, there's no chance at all because Alex goes always for very safe times and adapts his strategy also to mine, then I would maybe change it. But this is the way, and I think I really have to find some chance there. They will not come by their own.
Yeah. I mean, playing Alex is in the first round is also can be a relief because let's just go for it, right? But can be pressure. But what is it for you?
I remember the last slam, which was I think the African European Open, and in the first round I played Vishwa, and I lost 0-4-0-4, but I did really good scores in there. So I think I had 48 words, which is rather good for me, and I had very good international names also. I think my competition record in images, and I lost all of these games, but I felt really well afterwards. I think you commented this quite intensively because we were playing almost alone in the end. And it was very close because Vishwa went for safe times, but for me it was still very good. And this is what I look forward to Alex also, because I have no pressure and I can just perform, and I use this as a training, because for my second match I really look forward to, because I would say that I have a chance there, and this will be my main focus in the tournament. And my goal is to win one match.
If you look back, what would you say, what comes to your mind when I ask you for the most memorable competition?
I think the first thing that stays in my mind when I go through it will be the European Championship 2018, which I spoke about. So I've really good memories on that, and it's not that long ago compared to my other favorite competitions. And for me, this third place in the adults category in the European Championship is partly more worth than my World Championship titles, which I scored in the kids and junior categories. And it's also because of the story, because Ben and we really scored very well. I remember him doing 14 decks in half an hour. Then I had everything green in the 30-minute numbers, so no single mistakes. Before the second trial of speed cards, I was ahead of him because he failed the first trial of speed cards. Then I calculated and memorized the times when, so the time he would take for memorizing, which time I would need then. And then I waited for him doing the memorization. I looked at my timer.
Really?
And then I knew, okay, I have to go for a certain time, like below 55 seconds, which was crazy fast for me at the end of the second competition day, because my best in training, I think, is 45 seconds. But this was like the confirmation. Yes, you have to go fast. There's no way of rethinking or going back or so. You really have to do it. And this was taking some pressure out of me, because I knew, okay, I just have to do it. Let's see what happens. And then I finished with 50.87 seconds. It was so memorable that I remembered this, and it felt really well. So it went smooth, and I did my recall, and I already had a good feeling. But the first thing was typing in the times into my Excel sheet, checking if the time would be enough. Then we were checking Ben, and he had the second deck correct in 36 seconds or so. So it was really, I already knew if my 52 cards are correct, then I get it by 12 points. And this made the moment where the last card was turned really a celebration moment, because I knew what I have achieved. So I beat Ben for the first time 10 years after his first or second, I think it was his second World Championship title. So he's one of the most known memory athletes of all time. And beating him by this strategic performance, this was a really, really good moment. And I got also a World Championship title in the juniors category on the speed cards, which was very close with the Indian competitor Zaswat. And I won 2 kids World Championship titles, but this close ending and this battle with Ben, which was a very high level battle, this was the thing that sticks most to my mind.
Cool. And can you share any experience where you maybe had to overcome like emotional challenge or something like that in a competition to go on? Something where you felt a bit like, oh, I have to do something now to change something.
Not during the competition, but after the competition. That was the North German Championship 2013. This was my second year in the junior category. And it was, I think, the third competition of Jan-Hendrik Bücher. And it was the first where he was really competitive with me, and it was really close. And then on the speed cards, he won the competition. But I still remember the second trial, so I also could have won on the second trial if I improved. But the first 3 cards of the memorization deck looked almost like this deck was sorted, and it totally took me off, and I had no chance to refocus again. And I think if this went a bit different, then I would immediately accept this defeat, which was my first unexpected defeat, so to say. So before I just lose to people where it was obvious that they are better, but it was the first time it was close and I didn't win. And of course, everyone expected me to win after the main opponent, Anna Bawiński, was not in the juniors category anymore. So it was the unexpected defeat, and in a way where I was not happy with myself because of this distraction. But of course, I did this distraction by my own because I could just go ahead and don't pay attention to it. So this made it very hard to accept that I got second. And it took me a while and some other very close competitions also with Anne them later. So we had some great competitions where we were three people within 70 points or so. And when I realized it's just fun to battle each other, and sometimes you lose and sometimes you win, this made it even more exciting for me. And as I said, some second or third places are more memorable for me than first places. And with some time, I also accepted the second place there. And looking at the scores, I just was not well enough to beat Jan-Henrik on that day. But on the day just after the competition and before the award ceremony, I think this was my worst mood in terms of memory competitions.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. I mean, when you start in that young age and you win, and then you never learn to lose, it's also something you have to learn at some point. Do you think there are any misconceptions about memory athletes?
Two things I think of. So the one thing is that it's not only memory sports, but I think all kinds of mental sports are like when people realize that you do one of these things, then they think you spend your whole life doing this. So they think you can't have any other hobbies, you can't have any friends. You just sit there in your small room or apartment and just memorize. And everywhere you see some digits, you see the major system images, and always you see your locations, and you just can't get rid of it, and you're just crazy. This is the one thing. And the other thing is, which is not that heavy, but I think when I told people I'm a memory athlete, they always thought I would be very good in math, which is true, but it is completely not related to the memory sports.
Yeah.
And I think many memory athletes like math, but I think there are many who don't. Or at least it's not related. I'm a physicist and I really like math and physics, and my goal was always to not be immediately recognized as a physicist. And sometimes when I explain what memory sports is and that I enjoy doing memory sports, this trial is automatically errored because everyone will think that I'm a nerd doing physics and memory sports and nothing else. But luckily, all of my friends who really know me know that this is not true, and I really enjoy moments spending with friends which is not related to any physics or memory sports.
So are they still watching you in competitions, or is it so? Are they all so used to everything so no one cares anymore?
I think this is different because some of my family members have probably never watched anything regarding me doing memory sports. So, as I said, my father, who accompanied me to all of the competitions I took part as a kid and junior, he knows what memory sports is about, and he could apply the techniques for simple, like 10 digits numbers or some playing cards or so, or memorizing names. I think the first competition I traveled alone was the German Championship 2013. So I was 14 there, and I traveled through the whole country to Izny for taking part in the competition. And afterwards, I had some competitions where I traveled alone. And then when I had my first North German Championship as adult, so not in the kids or juniors category anymore, he decided to again join me and watch for this new era of memory sports being an adult. So he rejoined, so to say. And my grandparents always followed my results. So when I visited my grandparents, we always checked my scores and what I plan to achieve in the upcoming competitions. And probably this also got a bit less when I got older because, of course, it's more exciting to do this with a very small kid and junior. And when one is adult, then everyone knows that you can do it on your own. But doing this with a very young athlete, this was very nice for them, I would say. But my mother or my siblings, I think they maybe they don't care, but almost. So they wish me good luck for a competition when it's coming up, and then they ask what it was the outcome. But when I start explaining how it went, they already say, "Okay, it's not that important to them."
It's too normal. It's like what's always there. It's nothing special, not at all for your family. Cool. Konstantin, what is your vision for the future of memory sports in general? Is there any future? Are we close to the death, or will it always be this on the same audience level like we have nowadays?
So when I thought about, or when I spoke with my friends about the field of competitors in this World Championship, I saw, wow, there are many nations represented. And when I think back at the World Championship 2012, for example, where German athletes were in the, I think, first, second, and fourth and fifth positions, I think. So you, Simon, Christian, Boris. I think this is one important prerequisite for a sport to be recognized as a real competition. So that many people from many different cultures and countries come together and really fight for who's the best, and not just people from one culture finding who's the best from them. But you never know how the others do. So I think for a sport, it's much more representing when there are many continents, many countries, and many age groups also represented. So I think the youngest now should be Evelina. So she's 20, I think. And then we have some old, not very old, but older competitors than me. But this shows that there is much potential in what can happen. And also when you look at the slam and season finalists, some years ago, it was just Alex, Andrea, or Simon. And now Katie was in the final. Naoki won slams, Vishwa. So there are many more coming and being competitive. And I think this is the prerequisite. And this happened in the last years. So it changed from very few top world-class athletes to maybe 6 or 7 or 8 who can win a slam or a season. And with more really competitive competitors, there comes a bit more audience. And the hope is that by this, even more audience is attracted. It will never be the number one sports because it's just too special, I would say, to follow for a normal person. So it's too high to get to know the sports and understand the rules and understand the strategy, and also to realize what is this achievement, what means this achievement. So when I would do a deck of cards in 50 seconds, everyone who has never heard of memory sports would think this is the most incredible thing that they ever saw. And then I tell them, the world record is 12 seconds. Someone who is not into memory sports, and there are many people, unfortunately, not into memory sports, can't really rate these achievements. We will never be number one. And the goal is to find the people who are interested and who would like to follow, and to give them some entertainment.
Nice.
So this would be the best thing if we could reach all of the people who want to be achieved.
Your life is memory sports, kind of, and this is really interesting because it's a different perspective. Everyone else is like having had a life before, but you don't. It's something like that. Thank you, Konstantin.
Yeah, thank you, and have a great evening.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so this was Konstantin Skudler. He will be part of the Memory League World Championship in 2020-24 in January. So don't miss it. Watch Memory Sports TV. As always, keep on memorizing. Bye-bye.